of silence.
Continue means that you
Well, you
started
can say
it
your
and
prayer,
you're still doing it.
but after you
No,
say
we're
your
not doing
prayer,
it anymore. That's what
just
it
say,
is.
I'd like to take a little time, a little moment of silence for the tragedies that occurred over the weekend. You want me to do it?
Is that for Al, you said?
For the shooting.
I'm not
For
bringing it
who?
up. I'm
The
just
shooting.
between me and her. Okay.
We did Al
Okay.
last
Oh, you did Al.
I was just talking to her, man. You guys got involved. I don't know why.
It's always at Memorial Day.
Everything is good. Even Paul. I told
I
Paul.
mean, it's already written.
Oh, what a nice
Something
Across the
gentleman.
street, his wife was
Has
beautiful.
his name all over it.
Beautiful lady.
Manana?
Okay, you ready? Where's the camera tonight?
It's a,
No
it's a,
camera?
it's a piece.
It's the one up
Tom, it's a
Oh,
piece.
man.
It's not. It's a.
I like them close-ups. Ready? Call the roll, please. I'm here.
Vice Mayor Best,
Present.
Councilman Mitchell,
Here.
Councilman Zapata, Councilman Petrolanda.
Here.
We're going to go ahead and please rise for invocation by Councilwoman Bada Zapata.
Dear Lord, may we not lose sight of what our purpose is on this council, to serve our community. We ask that you guide us to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize the responsibility the City of Miami Springs to its past and its future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. And I'd like to take a moment of silence for the victims of the Texas shooting, the tragedy. Amen.
Right hand over your chest. Pledge allegiance. Hold on. You ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okie dokie. Okay, we have opening remarks from the city manager, William Alonso, and then we'll go to council and go on down the road, right?
Let me just read the memo into the record. In preparation for the first budget workshop scheduled for August 5th, 2019, we're presenting council with the fiscal year 2019-20 budget workbook, which includes various options and alternatives to assist council in making sound financial decisions when addressing the proposed 1920 budget, which maintains the millage rate at the current 7.3500 rate and generates a surplus of $97,339. The fiscal year 2019-20, each one-tenth of a mill is worth approximately $119,364 in ad valorem revenue. The total general fund budget is $17,006,8395, of which $11,137,462, or 63.2%, represent employee salary and benefits. This leaves $6,480,933 to cover all other city needs. The following are the most significant budget assumptions. The initial proposed budget maintains the millage at the current 7.35, provides a surplus, and maintains and or improves our current levels of service. The proposed 1920 budget includes the addition of one police officer, which will increase the number of uniformed officers from 44 to 45. Police budget also includes further improvements in technology in order to replace outdated and inefficient systems. It also includes a GPS tracking for our police vehicles and new equipment for our officers. Fiscal year 1920 budget includes an estimated $133,000 in debt service payments to cover the first year interest-only payments for the senior center construction fund. The public works budget includes the addition of one maintenance worker in the streets division to assist in improving the level of services citywide. The senior center budget includes $96,200 to cover the LSP funding lost this year from the state. These funds will fund some of the most popular programs, such as the various classes and weekend meals. The IT budget includes converting the current part-time employee to full-time due to the significant workload of the department and no longer able to accomplish their tasks with 1.5 FTE. Health insurance renewal for the next year is 6% higher. Fiscal year 1920 budget includes a $3 police budget includes 3% pay raises for all uniformed officers in accordance with the current contract term, as well as a reduction in police pension contributions from 12.5 to 10.5%. The budget assumes a 3% cost of living increase for all operating expenditures, e.g. fuel, utilities, supplies, etc. The general fund budget request also contains approximately $566,819 in capital expenditures, as shown on page 1-16. However, the budget impact of this for fiscal year 1920 will be approximately $120,344, since $555,419 of the capital expenditure will be paid through a 5-year lease with annual payments of approximately $120,344. These capital requests includes from Public Works $227,000 to replace all the ductwork, air vents, returns, and filters in the City Hall building. $25,000 in other improvements and equipment. Police $154,719 in equipment, software, and GPS tracking system. Golf $68,200 to replace 3 weather shelters at the golf course. Repave the maintenance building, replace cast iron water pipes at the maintenance building, and purchase a new range ball picker. Parks and Recreation, $80,500 for pool deck spray maintenance, resurface 2 tennis courts, laser grid and clay the ball fields at Stafford and PB Dove, and repair the soccer field at Stafford. Budget includes $45,000 for the city's lobbyist, as well as $25,000 for legal costs related to the annexation lawsuit. The Public Works budget also includes $25,000 for citywide tree planting and $200,000 for tree trimming. Council budget includes $35,000 funding request from CMI for next fiscal year, $14,000 for the River Cities Festival, and $6,000 requests from the Historic Museum for Storage Costs. One point on that one, I just received a new update from the Historic Society, and that request is going to go down to $4,100. So we've already saved $1,900 on the budget.
When did you get that call?
Huh?
When did you get that call?
I just got their email today from Lily.
Oh, what time?
Huh?
What time?
Actually, she mailed it to me yesterday at night, yeah. Page 1.3 provides some possible reductions based on past history and experience with budget workshops. Some of the proposed reductions affect service levels and some do not. Some affect employee pay and benefits, while others affect current programs and subsidies. Page 1.4 lists some of the budget considerations, wish list, that are not included in the base budget discussed above, but are presented for council discussion and consideration. Some of the items include improvements, technology and equipment for Public Works, Parks and Recreation Department, Police, City Clerk, Human Resources, City Planner, and Professional Services. I have also included page 1-5 of the memo, which shows the status of our fund balance. We project at the end of 2019 we'll have $4.1 million required under a 25% policy. As you can see, we project a small surplus of approximately $80,000 this year, and this is already included in the $4.1 million figure. Page 1-6 is a financial dashboard showing the history of millage rates for the past 17 years, as well as fund balances during these years. And finally, page 1.7 provides council with a graphic view of the city's funds in their relation to each other and to the general fund. With that, we can start on section 2 with the city council budget. And I want to go first to page 2-2 so we can discuss some of the highlights. The proposed city council budget is $49,499, or 22% lower than the fiscal year 2018-19 budget. Decrease is due to the fact that $56,000 for renovation of the Historic Museum building was budgeted in the current year. The promotions line item is a lump sum of $82,060 to be allotted during the year as follows. $41,060 will be allocated during the year in the following events: Stafford Golf Tournament, $2,000; River Cities Festival, $14,000; 2 car shows, $3,000; city events, $8,000; Florida League 89th Anniversary ad, $1,000; Miami-Dade Installation Dinner ad, $1,000; Employee Holiday Dinner, $5,000; Police Appreciation Dinner, $3,000; Community Shred Event 2060, and Optimus Barbecue 2000. $35,000 has been allocated to the Curtis Mansion to assist with their annual operating costs. $41,000 has been allocated to the Historic Museum for storage costs. And you'll find the budget
41,
on page
44,000.
4100.
Yeah.
Sorry. And you'll find the council's budget on page 2-3.
Are there any questions on the council's budget?
Well, there seems to be 22% lower. Is any way we can look forward and possibly trim that a little bit going forward?
Well, it's 22% lower than last year.
Correct.
Not higher, lower. What do you want to trim? I mean,
Well,
I
and,
think all of
I
these-
guess I'm just asking members for their thoughts.
May I ask a question? William, the contractual services, that last year was 46 and now it's 20,000?
If you look at page 2-5, Erica has provided on the top of the page a breakdown of the contractual services, and the increase is due to the audiovisual recording with technician of 15,400.
If you
Oh.
remember, yeah, the Comcast. now we
Right,
have-
stopped. So it's 15,000?
Yes, ma'am. It's $700 per meeting, and I'm assuming the 22 meetings for the year.
Has that been signed already, that contract?
No, we only allocated up to the budget time for October, so I would have to renew the contract for the next year.
That's actually going to initiate the first contract.
Correct.
What we're doing now is budgeting for the first
For the-
contract,
right.
for the one-year
For the
contract.
1 year.
Right now, we're allocated to the, because it wasn't a full year.
Right.
Okay.
I believe it was like around, goodness, like around February or March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mayor, the reason I'm asking is maybe we should look into doing it in-house.
I think that's a significant amount that we could somehow cut. There has to be a, so perhaps we can look at that.
I'll get with IT and get some recommendations, see what the cost difference is.
Well, it's very important, though, that we don't cut our nose off as far as because the public is very used to having a camera and a professional job done for us.
I think I did something at the time of switching over to the new last year, and I think it was, hiring a staff member of mine to man the camera, like the training and all that.
Yeah.
I'll look into it and I'll propose something.
I
for
remember
the-
that.
You might find it might not be that much cheaper. In
Mayor,
fact, I think we talked about that. It
Right,
wasn't
yeah.
going to be.
We did.
It wasn't going to be with staff, camera, and everything that much cheaper.
Well, we
Now it's
never
coming
got-
back to me.
Mayor, we never got to the numbers, but I say, obviously, we need to make it sure that everything is up on, make sure that the residents can see what's going on. But, well, Miami Lakes doesn't have a cameraman. They have these cameras, and they man them remote. So there's no one in the chamber while there's a council meeting going on, is what I'm saying. So why don't we just look at it, see if it's something
Well,
that
I
we
have
can
no
do?
problem. I
Yeah.
think what you need to do now is, it's something we discussed. It stays here in the budget until we decide on how we want to go about doing it. I mean, if you want to go ahead and do the way the camera is set up now and not have any kind of it's something that our city, I know everybody says, well, Miami Lakes is doing this or Gables is doing that. But Miami Springs has done this now for a long time. And to go ahead and give anything that's not as good or inferior to what we've been doing,
No, we
it's
can't
not
have
going to
that.
be. Yeah, so I understand you want to save some money, and I understand but look into it, see what we come up with.
Absolutely.
But right now, it's going to be right there for now with the research,
Yeah,
correct?
it's traditional.
Okay. What'd you say?
It is traditional.
Yeah, it'd be nice for you to help me with the words sometimes.
I just tried.
And I have, Mayor, if I may, I have
Sure.
another question. Regarding the telephone, and I know we brought this up last year. In 2016 to 17, it was half of what it is, and then it's gone up, and last year it was 3,600, 3,200. It just seems like an awful lot for some cell phones.
It includes data plans for tablets and cell phones.
Oh, it's bundled?
It's bundled, it's all
Okay.
both,
Because I don't even have a
equipment.
city cell phone. You know that.
Right, yeah, that doesn't include that.
So it should be even cheaper.
So you're saying this doesn't include the cell phones?
Not
Or-
his cell phone.
Not his,
Yeah,
oh, not the
yeah.
councilman's.
Well,
But as
mine-
far as
Okay.
the tablet, all tablets have data, so do the phones, obviously, the phones with cell service and, yeah. No, I believe you don't have a cell phone either, yeah.
Could we look at that, because these plans are always changing, you know, with these systems, and perhaps there's something that we can go back down to, you know, if we can save another half, 1,500 on that.
Well, you gotta give
Mm,
the
great.
credit that it has gone down the last 2 years. It's gone from 36 to 32. And, so they have been doing it,
Mhm.
okay? But I believe that this technology, I mean, we talk a lot about it, but the technology costs.
But 3 years ago, we were at 17,
Because
the tablets.
yeah.
Is that the tablets then?
3 years ago,
The
We didn't have all
tablets?
of council.
we didn't have all
We didn't
council.
have all
Okay.
council on.
Oh, okay,
ta-
all right.
Didn't have a,
tablets or phones, right.
Where we save money, Councilwoman, is that we were, little history, we decided not to print these things out, well, that's why we got these things, so what, you know, that part of the budget went up, but the one that went down was the printing and
Printing,
all that.
right.
So that's why it's crucial to use these tablets, because that's the reason we got them. So we didn't have to print all these things out.
Yeah,
Even
but
though,
this is still good with the budget, though, to have all this.
yeah, no,
to
the
be able to-
budget, we have
yeah.
always used it,
Right.
yeah, but I'm talking about regular council meetings, and not
Absolutely.
this.
I agree with
This- Yeah.
Agree with you.
But that explains the big increase from one year to the next. It was that we switched to the tablets, okay.
Anything else on the budget?
I just want to mention that I'm happy to see the education and training. I know it went up, but I think that's good. You're training and educating your staff.
This is for
Our
city
staff,
council,
yeah.
yeah.
So the footnotes are, we're gonna look into some possibility of, lowering the television, the actual recording of the meeting. And 2, we're gonna see if there's any,
Cell phone.
better
plans.
clouds
Phone
that we can
adjustment.
go to, or maybe a smaller cloud for the 3,200. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we go to the next one, city clerk's budget.
I would like to ask council if we can move up planning because Chris is not feeling well and I'd like to get him out of here soon.
Yeah, he doesn't look good at all.
What?
Bring him up. Bring him up.
That's on section 8 of the budget. His budget is $8,515 or 10.5% lower than 18-19. You see his budget on page 8-2. The only thing additional he's asking for, if you'll see under educational and training, it's a $5,000 increase, and that's to attend the annual planning board. Chris?
National conference.
Is that part of his budget, or is that something that we need to allocate to his budget?
No, it's there already.
It's right in the budget.
There.
Chris, you've never been to one of these, have you?
Decade.
And how beneficial would that be to
I think
you?
they're very beneficial. We
How-
learn a lot from each other. You think you have a problem that you alone are dealing with, and then you always meet people from other cities that are dealing with a similar problem, and you can get into little caucus groups and see how other people have handled it. Then we trade cards, and then we trade resolutions, and they look at what we're working on, we look at what they're working on. I think they're very beneficial. Plus, it gives us some name recognition among our colleagues in the planning community.
Thank you, sir.
I think also for one of our city professionals to be able to go at least occasionally to attend these major conferences is a big benefit for the
Thank you.
community.
Are there any questions? Anything about this is pretty good budget, right?
Yep.
Okay, anything? All right, we're gonna go to another, go ahead and
Thank you, Mayor.
Chris.
Council.
go get a scotch or something, make yourself feel better. I see that CMI is here, Curtis Mansion's here, they're in our council budget. Usually we had them come up and give us a little bit of, Please, 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 but do we need to hear from them?
Sure.
Of course.
Okay.
I put some backup that they sent me in your packet under section, your section of the budget. There's a report that they submitted
Well,
also.
she can come up and maybe take the mic. You could take the mic from him. The microphone, right there, yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Melinda.
Hi. So yes, there is a report that was sent in when you get a chance. Just in brief, first of all, I do want to thank a few people that are here tonight. Councilman Petrolanda, I see Tom Nash back there, Roberto Quintero, who I believe you all know, who have been very instrumental in getting our new courtyard paved. The large grassy area in the back is now paved, and it can take the largest tent out there. I don't know the measurements off the top of my head, but these people have been very instrumental in getting that done this summer. We expect it's going to help bring in larger events. It even just looks so much nicer even for a smaller event that's looking things over. So we are so thankful to everyone involved in making that happen. And the plan, not to embarrass Tom, but is to dedicate it to Lisa Nash.
Well
And
done.
we're going to come
Well
up with something lovely there for Lisa. I also wanted to thank all of you I know we're starting to get moving now with this lighting project. We're all very excited about that. That should really be taking off soon. I know Tammy and Roy Rodriguez have been speaking more closely than we have, but I'm keeping an eye on the emails, and so hopefully that will happen in September, October. So things are really moving along. We also, you'll see some numbers in there. We did make a small profit this year. I will admit the accountant has not seen these numbers yet, but I believe they're very close. It looks like a little over 20,000. Let me double check. And hold on. 23,380 and change is what I'm showing as a profit this year. So, and of course that does include the city money. Thankful for that. I do also know that you want to get us to get to a point where we don't feel the need to ask. I don't think we're quite there yet. That's my goal too. But we still have some very big ticket items facing us, like the sprinklers, probably having to tent in the next couple of years. We're seeing signs of that problem.
Now that
Those kinds of
23,000,
things.
that's what you're gonna use to do
No,
the
that
pit.
was our profit
I
for the
understand
year.
that's your profit,
Mhm.
but where does that money go to? Do you
Well,
spend
right
that
now,
back in?
well,
Do you
right,
spend it back into the building that you
you know, I
just talked
do
about?
reinvest most of the money we make, whether it's in personnel, advertising, maintenance. The problem, and the reason I brought that up at this point, is in the summer is when we have time to do all this maintenance. It's also the time when all our cash flow is gone. So, not gone, but you know, we've been preparing all year, tucking money away. That's been my goal the last year, just tucking away to get through the summers. When we are at a point where we can figure out how to really make money during the off season, that's when I feel we're good. And we have a few other big ticket items that we've been able to get, you know, I'm not saying the city has to pay for it, but just that we've been able to get fixed. We take lightning hits on a regular basis. I can't even begin to tell you how many air conditioners I've had to replace. I just had someone come in to do grounding and bonding last week. It was a $25,000 bid. The sprinklers with the new pump, I think it's probably a 50 grand project. It's a need. You know, these things, and I'll tell you, it's no secret. It's taking about 30 to 35 a month to run that place well. Now, I could cut it a little bit, sure, but it would mean probably cutting personnel that I've tried to bring on, all of which are just part-time. You know, but to run it right and with the goals we have in mind, that's pretty much what it's taking. Now, some months, you know, are more expensive than others. Would you like to kind of hear what we've done this year a little bit, or just read the report on your own?
Well, I think
I think most of us have read it,
yeah.
but any
Have you?
highlights,
I
Melinda?
think
you
the
want?
thank you. I think the highlights this year would be, you know, we're trying to keep the Curtis Explorers program and Camp Invention going. I love these two programs because I think the way to, and I believe the board feels this way too, the way to get a legacy going and for Glenn Curtis to really be a household name again, at least in Dade County, is to reach the children. And the more we're involved with the kids, the more that legacy is going to build back up, and they're going to remember and pass it on to their own families. So that's going well. The other thing I'm really proud of, I mean, we had 120 in the essay contest this year, so that was the most ever. Camp Invention maxed out at 73. The kids love that. But the other thing I'm really proud of is that we have been continuing our Saturday morning tours. Every Saturday at 10, they're run by docents mostly that we've trained, many of which you probably know. And then they make their way up to the archive office, which is my office, and then I meet them up there, and I speak to them about my personal stories since my parents met at the mansion and all of that, and Pan Am, and and people like to hear that because most of the people coming on these tours, which is actually a great thing, are not from Miami Springs. And we hear the same thing every time. How did I never hear of this? How did I never hear of Glenn Curtis? How did I never hear of, the mansion, and many times even Miami Springs? So it's bringing in people from all over, Dade and Broward. We've had people driving up from the Keys and even over from Naples. And we're seeing more tourists come in, too, that hear from the hotels. We're getting the word out in the various hotels. And so right now, even in the summer, we're averaging 15 to 30 people on a Saturday. I think that's pretty good for our size venue. And I'm very excited about that. And the museum pass, the Miami-Dade Public Library has a museum pass, which is fantastic to get families in, and they're using them. So that's exciting. What else can I tell you? We have a lot of students working there this summer. You've seen some. They're working on garden projects. I had one do an archive project, which has been fantastic. She got in and found all her archives, cataloged them, everything. And Anchor, of course. I'm meeting Anchor 4 days this week to redo the barbecue. The courtyard in the little barbecue area, the historic section, has also been redone just before the other courtyard. And now they're tied together, and that's our secondary wedding area. So Anchor's coming in the next 4 days and planting. So we're working really closely with the students. I'm sure I'm overlooking something, but do you have any other questions?
No,
Oh,
but
we have
you've
a
made
gift
some-
shop.
No, but you've made some fine, yeah, the great gift shop's dynamite, but you've
Thanks,
made some
isn't it?
fine improvements, so.
We've made some fine.
You've
Yeah,
made some
thank
fine
you.
improvements.
Thank you. And sometimes you try things that aren't working, and we learn and move on. Try something
I
else.
have one request when you have them dinners like you had this past Friday. I don't know if the city clerk relayed to you. Why can't you have them dinners like at 5 o'clock?
You mean the lunch we
Yeah,
had?
yeah. Why can't you have these special events?
That's
I
a good
work.
idea. I'll tell you why
Because
we
I
didn't on
work,
that
I
one, but
work, you know.
yeah, I get it.
And I didn't get much of a.
Not enough
I'd love
notice.
to go. I'd love to go. But
Yeah.
I didn't get much notice.
That's an excellent point. I forget sometimes that you all have other jobs, of course. That makes sense. That particular luncheon, though, was aimed at, first and foremost, we were trying to thank the laborers that came out because the gentleman's company has done a lot of work for you guys here in the Springs, and he gave a really good deal to those that were paying for this. So it was kind of to thank him, and then we added on, well, let's add other people to come. So it was meant while they were there.
Well, just something. I'd like to go there. I'd like
Yeah.
to participate.
Good.
I
Okay.
should, but having it during a Friday or especially a Friday at the end of the month.
Yeah, you're
or
right. We
business,
should do that.
Hey, Bill, take you 10 minutes to drive down from your office.
Mayor, if I may, I have a question for Melinda.
Sure.
First of all, I wanted to say I flew home from LaGuardia Friday, and it turns out I just found out recently because they're redoing all of LaGuardia, so they have a lot of historical accounts. Do you know that LaGuardia was initially called Glenn Curtis Airport?
Yes, I did know that. Yeah, I understand why you didn't, though a lot of people don't. But
And later they
I'm a bit
changed
of a
it to
buff
for
now, so yes, I
LaGuardia,
did.
to
Yeah.
in memory of him. But
Yeah, well, he had a home up there. Oh, don't get me started on the history
yeah,
stuff.
but it's
But,
amazing.
yeah, no, he
an
had a
airport as
home up
big as in
there.
New York.
A lot was done during World War II right out of there. The first flight over the Atlantic he built up in that general area. And, yeah, so there's a lot of history from Glenn Curtis in that immediate area.
Amazingly. Melinda, I wanted to ask you about on here on page, 212, it's end of CMI fiscal year for 2019, projections for 2020. Do you have that?
Okay,
Page,
the
okay.
projections for next,
Yes.
this coming?
Could you tell me all under their income? I
You know,
noticed
that's
you
a
had
fun-
forty-six
that's a
thousand,
funny one to-
35,000 last year, and now you're
Yeah.
projecting only 15. What does that drop in?
Because I have nothing to gauge it on right now. Last year, we had the school come in. That was a $10,000 fee I wasn't expecting. You know, I guess I lowball it a little bit because I really don't know. It's hard to predict what's going to happen. So I guess in my mind, I lowball it so I don't overestimate because it's income I don't know where it's coming from
So
yet.
it's not something that you've lost necessarily?
No,
okay.
not at all. If I don't know what it's going to be or that I have it, I just kept it lower. So,
Do you think the social media incursions you made over the last year or two?
you think it's what?
Do you think that the social media incursions you made over the last 2 years have been successful? And
Yes, I do. We use social media a lot.
Right.
And we also have tied in Instagram directly into our website. I didn't know we could do that. Our web designer turned me on to that. So that keeps our website constantly updating. Anything we put on Instagram jumps into a certain portion. It's really great for the weddings, and we also use it for historical. Facebook's a good way, and eBright to get the word out for events. And we have found pretty much any free calendar that is in Dade County, we have tapped into it. Yeah, I mean, we're constantly working up the social media angle. Yeah.
I have a question, Mayor. So when you come up with these figures to piggyback on Councilwoman Mitchell's, did you take into consideration the big slab that we put in the back, or you did not? Because this is a $7,000 increase from last year. I think your revenues are going to go a lot higher now. You can.
Oh, with the rental revenue? Yeah, I mean, again, these are projections, and
But that's what
I
I'm
don't.
asking you. Did you get this projection before or after? Did you come up
I
with
did this projection about 3 weeks ago.
Okay, so it
And
was
see, our fiscal year had just ended. We hadn't even done, so some of it you had to guesstimate a little bit.
I think your revenues are going to go up now that you can host bigger parties.
I hope
fact,
so.
no,
That's
I know,
the
so
that's
I-
the
well,
goal.
I hope. I just want to say one other thing. I want to thank Tom and
Mhm.
Metro Express for doing what they've done. I mean, Tom has gone out of his way, and I want to
Above
thank
and
him for that.
beyond.
Yes, a lot.
And not just with this project, with many projects.
Especially
Thank
this
you.
one here. Now,
Yeah.
the other thing I wanted to mention to you is that you're talking about a sprinkler system that's 50,000. This project here would have been 60,000. I was talking to
I'm not
Gustavo.
surprised, yeah.
He told me for us to do this project without doing what we're doing, this is a $50,000 to $60,000 project. So when you talk to me about a sprinkler system that's 50,000, and these people did it for what? We're up to 12,000.
I heard $1 square foot is what I heard, but I don't know because I wasn't dealing with them.
For what? For the sprinkler system?
No, for the
Well,
courtyard.
I spoke to Gustavo, he said 50 to 60,000.
Mm.
I think we're getting it done for 12. So what I'm trying to say is maybe we need to go out there and not pay full retail and try to get donations.
Definitely.
this
I
time.
mean, we barter all the time to get things done around there. If I can find someone to barter it, we'll,
That's maybe what we should do, because this project would have been 60,000 for you, and we got it for 12, because
Yeah.
they donated just about everything.
right.
So what I'm saying is maybe that's the route we need to take for the
Yeah.
sprinkler system.
Well, we're getting at the point where now we can focus on 1 or 2 items rather than 6, so it's exciting. Yeah. I mean, these are good problems to have. We're growing. We're still transitioning, no doubt. So,
Thank you.
is that it?
That's
Okay.
it. You did good.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we go to the city clerk's section 3.
Okay, section 3, her budget's on 3-4. The proposed budget is $54,005, or 20% higher than fiscal year 18-19. Increase is due to the accrual of $20,000 in contractual services for the 2021 city election, and the fact that we had a savings in 18-19 due to no election being held, so that skews the numbers a little, and that's why her proposed budget is so much higher. Budget also includes, for fixed assets, $8,000 for new Laserfish server and software. And you'll find her budget on page 3-4. And she has line item descriptions for the budget on pages 3-6 and 3-7. That's on the way to.
She got her window, right?
Have it, yes.
She wants one.
Got one.
She got one?
Frame hanging
Oh.
wall. Yeah, just hanging on my wall. Looking outside.
You didn't specify, you just put window.
Yeah.
You didn't specify
yeah,
for
good-
real, open up, double hung.
Yeah, good point, Maria.
Are there any questions on her budget?
Um, William, I do, Mayor, I have a question. The savings that we had on the election, on not having the election, where is that reflected on here? Is it under this
The
contractual
contractual
services?
services.
That's where the, okay.
Anything else?
Yes. I want to know about the system in here that we budgeted last year, and she was
So,
follow up on that.
a component of the audio, we should have that in by, hopefully by next week, installed and everything. What came to my attention is that we need to do some rewiring for new equipment because this equipment is outdated. So I would need to get a quote for all of that. That's something I can come up for the next budget or at the final workshop, if that's something that you would.
We allocated some money last
It
budget,
was to
right?
fix, yeah, the audio, to add some extra,
Just for everything.
audio. No, it was just to add the microphones.
That
two
hasn't been
extra
spent yet.
microphones.
That hasn't been spent yet.
No, well, we haven't gotten the bill. It hasn't been installed. We'll get the bill once it's installed.
All right, is it something we should think about instead of,
Well,
go ahead.
yes, if we're gonna be considering the, I mean, I would have to propose, the camera system. That would, I could incorporate the new audio, the equipment for the day. I can put that into that proposal.
Do it in one big package instead of this
Correct,
piece,
instead of
that piece, and
piecemeal.
that piece. So, again, this goes back to, giving the people what they want, and maybe that should be whatever you were gonna spend this year, you should not spend it.
Well, that's already, I mean, we need to, it's very old. It's like falling apart. So I know that has to be done. I don't know if there's a piece in the back of that. I don't touch it. I just push the buttons. But I know George
How much was that?
I want to say 1,800.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. All right.
Mayor,
We'll leave the, in my opinion, just leave the where we were in the council budget and let her budget alone. We'll leave it like that, and you come up with what we talked about.
Okay.
All right, that's all I gotta say.
knowing what we know, at least what's been printed so far or announced, going forward with the political aspirations of some members, should we be budgeting for an election in this budget?
That, we discussed that today. I believe Councilwoman Mitchell
Okay.
asked that question too, and this would fall in next year's budget. Because if there are any special elections, it will be after October 1st.
Which will fall to next fiscal year.
Right.
Okay, thanks, William. That's all, sir.
Okay, anything else? All right, let's go on. We go to
City
the
manager's
city
budget,
manager, section 4.
section 4, on page 4-4. The proposed budget is $19,181, or 4.7% lower than fiscal year 18-19. Decrease is due mainly to approximately $50,000 that we've spent this year so far related to the annexation lawsuit. The budget contains, professional services budget contains $45,000 for the city lobbyist and $25,000 for projected legal costs for annexation lawsuit next year.
The budgets, when you get a chance, after we get done with this tonight, send a memo out for each budget, what was less than the year before and what was more, and just that in a line item. You know, you understand what I'm saying?
Well, that's really on the last
I
column.
know, but I just want it on the one sheet of paper for each budget.
Okay.
So we'd have to look through each one of them. You know, like this one's $19,000 less.
Right.
The other one was
Okay,
eight.
you want,
Yeah, all the
okay,
way
I got
down.
it.
That way
Okay,
we don't have to keep going like this
okay.
and put them all in line.
I see what you want, okay.
Okay? Do that for me and for the
Sure.
council. Any questions on the manager's budget?
I do. Now, the $25,000 of the lawsuit, William, we don't get that back, do we?
No.
No.
So it's fair to say that, correct me if I'm wrong, it's fair to say we don't want to get sued. because even if we don't win the suit, we still have court costs, correct?
Of course,
This is
of
what this is.
course.
The only way we can recover this is we sue for their costs.
Counter sue for
And we
legal
never do
costs.
that. So we wanna make sure we do things right and we don't have a lawsuit in our hands.
I asked Dan to, schedule at one of these August meetings for, someone, the fellow from his firm that's handling the lawsuit, to come on and give you guys an update of, where we're at right now.
I'd like to hear that for one.
Well, the biggest update is the county would make a decision.
Well, yeah.
That would be the biggest update. That would skew all of this.
Yeah, because, I mean, we keep
Then
seeing,
the suit goes to the county, it doesn't come to, they're making the decision.
yeah.
And so, that's the big thing. But anything else on his budget?
No, I'm fine with it.
Fine with it?
Williams' budget.
All right. We go to the golf.
Okay, section 17, golf budget. On page 17-1, some of the highlights, the proposed budget is $41,259, or 2% higher than fiscal year 18-19. The budget includes a 5-year capital lease or note for equipment and improvements, as I mentioned before. The total acquisitions includes $22,500 to replace 3 weather shelters in the course, $20,000 to repave the maintenance building, $15,000 to replace cast iron water pipes in the maintenance building, and $10,700 for a new range picker. However, since this is a 5-year lease, the effect on this year's budget is actually $14,777. If you'll go on page 17-4, that's the pro shop budget, and that one shows a decrease of $8,108. And Paul's here to answer any specific questions you might have on that budget.
And we're about to get a new pro shop. Like it.
Mayor, I have a couple of questions. Now, has there been any impact from what's going on with Miami-Dade Water and Sewer? I know you wrote it here, so.
Started, yeah.
Well, they've done soft digs around the wells, and they're installing casings now. As a matter of fact, the pipe was delivered today. They'll start welding tomorrow. It's going to be a 2.5, 3-year project still, but so far it hadn't impacted us.
Foresee impacting?
Well, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, now, the other one I want to, that I told you I want to commend you, research the possibility of solar energy to charge electric car fleet. You coming around, Paul?
We look at everything always.
So how big is the fleet that you need this for?
85 carts. We don't ever need to have more than 85 golf carts. You can only put so many people on a golf course, and anything you got over that's overkill.
This is for upcoming, or is this for the current? We don't
Well,
have-
this is for upcoming as well as what technology, because technology changes as fast as we're sitting here, there's something changing. So if technology changes, then we'll look at utilizing solar energy if we can to cut down our cost of electricity
Do we have any idea?
and get a cleaner product out there as well.
Do we have any idea or any thoughts on what panels would cost to charge and keep charged 85 golf carts?
No, we have no idea yet.
Okay.
Now, Paul, increase average dollar per player revenue, other than increasing how much you pay, what do you have in mind there?
Well, it's again, supply and demand. There is the possibility or the probability that Mel Reese is going to close. Well, that's the closest golf course to us. We've already had a lot of inquiries on people moving up, and we've seen our business go up. Most of our revenue went up last year from European and foreign visitors. And like I normally go to a summer rate this year, I didn't go to a summer rate. We didn't need to drop the rate because the quality of our product is increased and the demand for our product is increased. So there was no reason to lower the rate. Matter of fact, when we roll around to get ready, I send to you guys for your approval, the winter rates are going to be probably 30% higher than what they were last year because we can demand it. The golf course, Lori's done an incredible job of having the golf course in great condition. Mason's done a great job of running it at the pro shop. I mean, we're starting to really get some traction in the golf market.
Paul, can you address an issue that's been brought up to me by several people regarding the first tee? How come we missed out on that?
We didn't. Actually,
haven't.
first tee is in the process of doing 3 different locations. One is Miami Springs, the other one is at Shula's in North Dade, and one is in South Dade, I believe, at Palmetto Golf Course. And because the major one here at Melreese is going to cease to exist,
It's fair to say that
building of the soccer
we're still
stadium.
in the play. We're still in play, correct?
Well, we're in play. We're definitely in play. We've always been in play. We've had first tee tournaments there for the last 4 years.
Didn't we have one time the opportunity for the whole thing, and then they
Well, it
decided
was a
they
request. It
divvy
was
it up?
just simply a request.
Yeah.
Right.
There was no, we weren't asking them, they came to us.
One last thing, Mayor. Paul, I want to thank you for everything you've done for food and beverage. You operated for a whole year. Monkey's off your back, right?
Well, yeah, and here's the reality of that. You know, you're thanking me, the people that should be thanked.
Is Mason.
Mason Kegley, he did 80% of the work.
Thank you.
Lori processed all the invoices and everything.
Thank you.
And, you know, I'm a lucky man. I draft well, and I coach, and I try to lead by example.
put.
And
We got a Belichick here.
Well
huh?
a good people, yeah,
Well,
exactly.
well put.
Matter of fact, I'm bringing an old torn-up T-shirt, a wet sweatshirt next time.
Well, Paul, you get both. You get the good and the bad. So when it's bad, you get it. So when it's good, you got to get it too. Now, I want to also tell you, I walk on the golf course, and it looks outstanding. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Any questions about
Thank
the
Lori.
budget?
I mean,
I
I
do.
put my 2 cents in, but I use her knowledge, her expertise, and, you know, it's incredible.
Good team.
I was really good at luring her over. I mean,
For keeping her.
Mayor, I have a
And keeping
question,
her.
please. Paul, the salaries, the regular salaries, there's almost a 30,000 increase. Is that new staff, or is that increases in just salaries, or is that like a half additional person, or what?
Actually, it's most of it's from the 3% increase for the COLA
Okay.
is where the majority of it lies. We haven't increased staff, we've actually decreased staff. Part-time staff. I mean, we're doing more with less. It's the same thing when we got here 6 years ago. There were 22 people in golf course maintenance to maintain that facility, and it looked terrible. Lori's doing it with 12 people.
Well, I just wanted to echo what Councilman Petrolanda said because, and I mentioned this to you, but I want to say it for the benefit of the council and our city manager. 2 months ago, I was at an event, and there were 2 or 3 judges there who, when they found out I was from Miami Springs, they said they live in Coral Gables, and they go, you know, we had stopped going to Miami Springs Country Club for years and years because it had gotten so bad, and one of our friends said, come try it out, you're going to like it. And they had just played there, and they were so impressed. They go, it's amazing, and they knew that they were part of, was it Prestige, Prime? I forget what the...
Premier card.
Premier. But they really, they said it was just exceptional. They were so surprised, and especially compared to, you know, how it had been. So thank you for that, and Lori and Kegley, and it's wonderful.
Oh,
Mason.
it's
Mr.
the
Kegley or
team.
Mason?
It's the team. Matter of fact, the Premier card, we've gotten one check from our Premier Association, which was for $52,000. We didn't budget that.
Wow.
And we still have another check coming, hopefully around 30 or 40,000 as well.
It's wonderful.
Well, through the chair, if I might, before, Bill, I guess if you're going to finish with golf, if we're done.
I was going to,
I just wanted to cattail off of what Jamie said earlier about thanking you for what you did in the interim between the beverage deal. But I'd like to thank you for doing it for the second time.
And hopefully the
Oh,
last.
yeah, that's for
From
sure.
your mouth to God's ears,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's for sure, you guys.
But again, I want to reiterate, Mason Kegley, talk about somebody stepping up to the plate and doing a job.
No, it's credible you speak about your colleagues.
He's been incredible, and Lori as well. I mean, again, I coach, I lead by example, and I've got 2 great people that, you know, fortunately listen to and go along with me. And when they want to challenge me, I tell them, challenge me.
well,
You know, let's talk about it. I don't know everything.
if everybody's done, I'd like to make you know, Mason happens lives across the street from me. I've seen him growing up from a little runt to what he is now. And the professionalism that he has acquired working with Paul, under Paul, is spectacular. And when you go there, he won't be running food and beverage now, but he never complained. I can see him going from his house at 7 o'clock when he was supposed to be off and going to work and taking care of it. And a lot of his friends that grew up with him, my son and everything, are really proud of him, of how he's come along. And if he doesn't like something, he gets rid of it. He gets a better product, and he's not afraid to make decisions. So, Mason, this is your time right now. So maybe you'll get somebody will give you a little write up in the paper on how good a job you've done supporting our golf course.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
One thing I taught to them, somebody taught me at a young age, pride of ownership. May not own it, but it's pride of ownership. And Mason stepped up, took pride of ownership like Lori does with the golf course.
And of course,
People
Lori,
ask us, you run this like you own it. We do.
Lori grows really good grass, and she'll keep on doing that for us. If we ever go to cannabis on the other part of the acreage and make a little extra money, we might can do something for ourselves, right?
Little hemp farm on the back
You
nine.
never know. You never know. But any other
It could be
question?
extremely profitable.
It would be. We would have the best golf course and the calmest golf course there is. Anything else for the golf course? You guys have a good evening. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your support.
You got it. We go to elderly services.
Yes, that's on section 16, 16-6. Let me read you some of the highlights. The proposed budget is $41,123, or 6.3% lower than fiscal year 18-19. Decrease is due mainly to the $165,000 LSP grant that we received during the current year that we will not be receiving for 19-20. Since the state did not fund the LSP funding for fiscal year 19-20, the city is budgeting approximately $96,200 in programs and weekend meals in order to maintain some of the services that were provided under the LSP funding. The city also will be receiving a new bus with a new Rotary FDOT grant, and we are planning to keep the existing bus as well, meaning the budget will have some additional costs for the operation of 2 buses for fiscal year 19-20. On page 16.7 and 16.8 and 16.9 are the different divisions of our budget, but the total overall number is on page 16-9, which shows a $41,123 decrease from current year. And Tammy Key, who's also done an excellent job in that senior center, and Omar has, both of them have really gone way above the call of duty in getting these seniors moved to the multipurpose room, doing the construction and all that. So kudos to both of you for everything you've done. So if you have any questions, Tammy Key is on the hot seat.
I have a question. So I know that we had talked before about the catering costs and the food provision for them, since the seniors had expressed some concern. Have you done any work on that? I see there's a little bit of an increase in that.
The catering company is actually, there's a list of them that the Alliance for Aging provides to us. We have to
Right.
choose from that list. I think that we've all ganged up on the Alliance at this point
Right.
about the selection of catering companies. Unfortunately, they're very difficult to work with,
Right.
so most catering companies don't want to work with them. And then also because the cost of the meals is so low, it's not a profitable business to be
Right,
in.
of course.
The food, we have seen an improvement in the food. The cost did go up slightly from Greater Miami Catering, but it is on par to what the other catering companies are charging at this point. But the food is definitely improved.
And I think that's important because they were unhappy. So thank you for looking into that and doing that.
Well, I think the environment too. I think the perception has changed because when we did move to the aquatic center, it was funny sometime after we got settled in, even though the food hadn't improved leaps and bounds, there was a lot of commentary that the food's really a lot better. And I think it was just
The change.
the newness
Yeah.
too. But it definitely has, because I've been tasting it, it has improved. So,
Thank you.
Mayor, if I might,
Sure.
Tammy, the 96,200 of lost state revenue,
right.
federal revenue / whatever.
State.
Are you okay with that being plugged in for us to fix that in terms of maintaining the services and the level of output that you were able to do with the federal money before?
Well, just to give it a little bit of perspective, that LSP money that we didn't get was covering recreation, our health support, our fitness classes. It was also covering a 7-day-a-week breakfast for homebound and weekend lunches as well. So with that, that's worked into the budget this time, we'll be able to maintain all of those things except for that 7-day-a-week lunch. And to me, the most important things were keeping the fitness, keeping the recreation, and keeping a consistent meal delivery for lunchtime. So that's gonna cover us and help us to maintain that for now until we can apply again next year to the state to try to get that money reinstated.
During the legislative session? Okay.
And then I just found out from the Alliance that we're actually able, when we see that there's an issue with a homebound resident, we're actually able to double up on the meal service for them. So I have a couple right now that's receiving 2 meals a day to ensure that they're eating, you know, a breakfast and a lunch, or a lunch and a dinner. So we're going to do that as well as we see the need for that.
So you're not undercutting yourself, you think you're fine?
No, we're fine. Definitely fine.
And by the way, I've heard all around town that you are doing a smash-up job over there.
Thank you.
Really have.
Even if you couldn't speak 2 languages.
No, that's right, yeah.
Exactly.
That's exactly
Thank
right,
you,
Mary.
Clara White. No.
You know how to communicate, young
Quality
woman.
is quality. It doesn't have, you know.
That's right.
I just wanted to mention, Tammy and Omar, what you guys have worked miracles with that aquatic center, how you fit everything in, and it looks so nice. It looks sharp. So thank you for doing that. I know that was a hard squeeze.
The seniors really love it. I mean, and I've said this several times. I, said it to Omar just the other day as well. I think that the seniors feel more included now. It's such a dynamic area to be in, to be near the pool. Some of our seniors have gotten to see their grandkids, during summer camp. They get to go out and visit their grandkids. And to have the support staff of the rec center, too, has been a really big deal. I think they really feel like more of an integral part of the community. So we really appreciate that.
It's a happy place. It's just such a pretty, happy place.
Maybe in the future, when the new center's built, maybe that'd be something to think about one day, even at the aquatic center, one day a week, so they can continue to have that relationship with what's going on. Because once the new center's built, they're back over there. So maybe it's something you can consider down the road, that they get once a month or twice a month. You have the meals in there so they can see in the year when the pools work, when it's summertime. I don't know about wintertime so much.
Right.
Maybe that's something can be put in the program. That's a thought.
Well,
I'm
that's
not telling
something-
you what to do. But
No,
a
that's
thought.
something that we've actually talked about. Omar and I have spoken about this, and my goal is to really continue that momentum and to do things and to have programming that's multi-generational, and really be tied into a lot of the other city events to make them more dynamic and more inclusive.
Gotcha.
Vice Mayor, to follow up on the LSP money, I called Jose Fuentes today regarding this, because it's the second time this has happened under Senator
You're right.
Garcia.
You're right.
It happened, and it's happening now. I think the way he explained it was an appropriation. There was 2 bills, and one was for 700,000, the other was for 800,000. Correct, William? Yeah.
Yep.
So we went with the 800, and that's why we lost the LSP money this year. But definitely we got to get it next year. The other thing is, I'm not sure if you're aware, but you'll be getting a visit this week from Commissioner Sosa.
Okay.
All right. So the whole thing is we go to the site and then go visit the seniors during lunch. So I'm working with Erica to confirm the date that's going to happen, but expect that to happen this
Okay.
week, hopefully.
Great. They'll be glad to see her. They always are.
Anything else on the budget? You got nothing? Everything?
Got it.
Thank you, Tammy Key.
Thanks, Tammy.
Have a good evening. We go to Public Service Department. Start with administration. 13.
The other star we have in the city, guy that can do it all, Tom Nash.
But he can't pass.
Through thick and thin, right?
I shouldn't say that.
All right, let's go to section 13. First, we'll do his administration budget. Page 13-1, the total public works budget of all divisions for 1920 is $2,079,096. which is $70,000 or 3.5% higher than the fiscal year 18-19 budget. The proposed administration budget that we're doing now is $16,245 or 4% lower than fiscal year 18-19, and that budget can be found on page 13-2.
Any questions or comments on 13-2?
Good job. He's doing a great job.
Anything
Yeah,
else?
Absolutely.
Any line item that picks your brain? All right, go on.
All right, page 13-5 is the street and streetlights division. The proposed streetlights budget is $23,464, or 5.6% higher than fiscal year 18-19. Budget includes $25,000 for citywide tree planting, and you can see that budget on page 13-6.
I have a question on this, Mayor. Tom, under the contractual services, it looks like one year we go up, the next year we come down a good bit, then we go back up, and then come down a good bit, 15,000 or so. Why is that
It's a
so
tree
cyclical?
planting.
Mostly that's a
Tree-
trees. We've been fluctuating over the last few years because we've been trying to allocate money more towards the tree trimming than the tree planting.
Yeah, if you'll see in the current year, we have 40,000. That's because of the $15,000 grant we got from Need Streets. And then the prior year was 23 because we took 25 out and added it to tree trimming.
Oh, okay.
We used to budget 50,000 for tree planting.
We had a situation last year, didn't we, during budget times, where that was going back and forth, and you said you wanted more money for it, and you got what we were able to give you, I guess, at the time. Are we still out of that? You still have money left in
I
it?
still have some money from what we just
Okay.
allocated a few months ago.
Okay.
We actually found another contractor that we piggyback from Trevor Pines, and he's actually given us much better rates, so we've been able to get more volume with them, with the money that we just recently allocated. So we're gonna try to piggyback with them in the new fiscal year.
Good.
And get more volume done.
It's on trimming, right?
Yes, with
Okay.
trimming.
The tree trimming is because of the Irma
It's because of everything as a whole.
as a whole. Okay, now, when do you think that you would be getting a grip on it? I know it's been a while, and then you're getting there. I know that but do you have any kind of prognostication of when you'll get a grip on it, where it'll be?
Up to date.
Does it make any sense what I'm asking? I mean,
It does. I'm in a rock and a hard place, if you want, with regards to the tree trimming. I've tried many different avenues, and if I go street by street, block by block, and just take the ones that we know have to be done,
right.
I meet a lot of opposition, because you have quite a few people that don't want their trees cut under any circumstances whatsoever. So we've basically gotten into the business of not really necessarily complaint driven, but we're only doing the ones that are in dire or specific need or that are being specifically requested, and that seems to flow for us a lot better.
Okay.
We've had an enormous amount of pushback when we try to send crews out. They get abusive. Things happen out there to where I've got to stay involved. A lot of cases, the police get called, and it takes up too much of our time. It slows down the contractor. Since we've outsourced the tree trimming a number of years ago, it's been somewhat of a train wreck because we've not had quality services.
Right.
They come in and they don't realize what they have in front of them. They lowball it to get the contract, and then they can't deliver. I believe with what we have now, what we've gone through, and the company that we have now, we can get a little bit more ahead of it, but it takes the funding. And like I said, the last few years, we've not been able to get it. I mean, you can go through $50,000 in just 20 blocks of this
I
city,
understand.
So I try to go where, the money's going to be well spent, you know what I'm saying? So that I don't do one grid or two quadrants of the city, and then I'm out of those dollars.
Fine,
I'm
all
trying
right.
to.
Let's see, let's,
Well, we've got the list current now. I've got, the contractors now have 70 work orders that they're on, and that's current. Over the last year and a half, 2 years, we were 3 years in the rears with our work orders. We're current now.
okay.
We're able to go out as the requests come in now.
All right, now okay, when you go to have a tree, there's a problem with the tree, and you go to take care of it, and a resident or gives you a hard time, you kind of back off but in your mind, as an arborist and a professional, and also a person that is very much involved in the tree canopy to keep it in Miami Springs, you know, my trust is in you, because I know that's the kind of man you are in the job that you do. Should there be some kind of mechanism that if the person or people give you problems about a tree on our swale that we're doing, should there be some kind of a mechanism that if they're going to give you a hard time, it should be posted that that tree was supposed to be taken out under our professional person, and they should be liable down the road if anything happens. I mean, is there something? I mean, there's nobody up here that doesn't care about our trees in our city. And that's including I'm maybe a little different, but I do care about it. But we cannot have a dictation to what is public safety versus a tree.
Well, especially because it's on public property.
Right.
mean,
So he
our-
needs sometimes, and I always tell him if he has any problems, contact me and I'll help as much as I can. But you know, there's no reason to have an inferior tree that might crack or break in public safety because some resident doesn't want it to be cut.
Right. Anything that gets to that magnitude, we
do it
address right
anyway.
away,
If it's a life safety
regardless.
issue,
Okay.
Regardless. But just for the overall aesthetics or the type of tree in a neighborhood, you know, we had an incident, you know, last year where that firefighter lady came in. She came home from work and she was just, you know, completely beside herself that the tree that she loved, cherished, and cared for was trimmed while she was away. You know, I can't knock on every single door and tell them, hey, we're coming to trim, you know, your tree. It's very intricate and it's very involved. I told somebody not so long ago, we have over 15,000 residents here in the city. 14,500 don't care. The other 14,500 are arborists.
Yeah.
I try to negotiate and work with them as best as I possibly
I know
can
you
to
do.
come up with some
I'm
form of.
looking at give you. My point is up here on council. We have to be able to understand. We have to be able to support him. That if you do get a phone call and somebody says, "Well, Mr. Nash wants to take it through," when I get these phone calls, I say he's the professional. I support his decision. I don't go ahead and say, "Well, I can see what I can do about it." No, because I know that he's not going to do anything that's irresponsible for our trees because
I mean,
he hasn't done nothing but make our canopy better as long as I've been in this town.
Right. I mean, if it's an
So
imminent threat
we need to
or,
help him when
I
that
agree.
happens.
I agree.
or, you know, if it's an imminent threat or it's going to be something that's going to have a direct impact, regardless of how they feel, we'll address it.
Right.
There may be some form of a compromise
I understand.
as much as we can, but we do, you know, we do address that.
Because I want something to be said here. Trees do grow back. We
Yes.
plant them.
Yeah.
They do grow back. That's the whole thing. And sometimes we find out like like planted pines, like in the area that we have on our property.
Right.
Before there were flash pines. Flash pines were okay, but they grew very slow. So in technology goes, they go to the loblolly pine. The loblolly pine grows almost like a weed. I mean, it grows fast. So when it was time the loblolly came out, a lot of the people in the acreages took all their flash pines out, and they replanted. Now you come to my property up there, and I got 40-foot trees that I that are 15 years younger than the trees that I had that took 40 years. So there is ways to accommodate these people, but I think I'm going to support Tom when I get the phone calls, and I'd like the rest of the
And
council to do the
I
same
have
thing.
gotten.
Yeah, Mayor,
I think everyone
I
here
do. I get,
supports.
Okay.
I
that.
get the support that I need
Okay.
from, you know.
Okay, I just
but
want it clear.
I meet a lot of resistance from.
The,
I
and,
understand.
and Tom, I just wanted to mention, and it goes with what the mayor's saying, is, you know, maybe a month or two ago, on my block, a huge tree branch fell on the sidewalk just out of nowhere. it fell, and a neighbor told me she was walking, jogging. She doesn't even live there, and she was jogging, and she said she heard this funny noise above her, and she looked up. She thought it was birds, and then as she passed the tree, the entire branch fell. So
Right,
you
and
know,
then we
it's
just-
not just the person. I guess what I want to say is, it's not just the person living there.
Correct.
Right.
It's that we have a
It's a safety.
responsibility for everyone using the
That
sidewalks.
was my point.
I'll tell you what happened last week.
Yeah, it was about a week and a half ago when the rains initiated over on the 1100 block of Robin. We lost approximately a 70-foot limb, maybe about 26 inches in diameter, from a mahogany tree.
Wow.
That came down on the corner of a roof over there. Minimal, 6 or 8 tiles on the corner of the roof, but you know, it could have been
Could
much
have been
more.
somebody standing under it.
Correct. And it was basically a tree that you would look at and think that there was absolutely positively nothing at all wrong with it. And it actually had,
Rot.
not only that, but it had another tree growing in the
understand.
the
Wow.
crown, where it actually separated that. And with the added rains, it caused
Now,
it to come down.
You know, I see them all over the place. You know, since I've been dealing with you, I've learned a lot about, that's what we have throughout the whole city. We have this problem.
And a lot of it's with the mahoganies, but look how, you know, majestic they are, but
All right.
sometimes you have
Well,
to take
you-
drastic measures with them.
All right, anything else do we want to go to
Yeah, real quick,
the
Mayor, if I might,
streets?
if I might ask him real before we go to streets. That story you just told about that woman that was appalled about how you trimmed her tree when she came home from work, what's it look like today?
It's phenomenal.
There you go. There's one for you, in support of what he's saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to go to streets and lighting? Right? Or we go past that?
We were done with streets.
We're done with that?
We go to public properties, which is where the tree trimming budget is, on page 13-8. The proposed public properties budget is $10,710, or 1.3% higher than budget is requesting $200,000 for a citywide tree trimming. Budget is requesting under a 5-year capital lease for capital equipment and improvements totaling $25,000, which includes $15,000 for Westwood Drive island planting and $10,000 for landscaping tools and equipment. The budget impact for 1920 on this is approximately $5,400. Budget also includes one additional maintenance worker position due to the increased workload of the division, which maintains all city green areas and bike paths. And that budget can be found on page 13-9.
Any questions on that,
I have a question, please, Mayor. Tom,
public properties?
the Westward Drive Island, how long a space are we talking about that?
The new 4 blocks, the new ramps that we just put in for the ADA.
So islands, all of those?
Correct. I want to
Okay.
do, you know, about a quarter of the way up where those new ramps are. I want to try to do something to make them a little bit more aesthetic. Once upon a time, we used to have different types of plant materials at the end caps of all of those islands, and now that it's been redesigned or reshaped, we're going to try to go with some native plant material similar to what we put in over there by the Taekwondo, and you know, just dress up the end caps of the 4 blocks of Westward downtown.
And that looks very nice over there, Joel did.
When will the sticks come out?
As soon as the trees stop laying over.
No, it didn't. But how long does it usually take?
It usually takes 1 year,
Oh, okay.
but with the rains and stuff that we've had lately and the winds, some of them have fallen over, so we've had to restake them, so it'll take a little longer. And
Eh.
the crepe myrtles are anchoring in very well. They look nice.
Yeah.
The new crepe myrtles there.
They bloomed.
Yeah.
They got like a purple leaf, purple flower.
Purple, I think they stagger some colors, purple and pinks.
Pinks,
They're nice. What are they called?
crepe myrtles.
Crepe myrtles.
I couldn't get that out at the Albert thing, Craig Myrtle. I said I think I dated her, Anything else on that one? We go to Public Works, where are we at here? Building, I scratched it out already.
It's on page 13-13. The proposed building maintenance budget is $42,116, or 12.2% higher the fiscal year 2018-19. Budget is requesting a 5-year capital lease note for capital improvements totaling $227,000 for the replacement of City Hall ductwork, air vents, returns, and filters. The budget impact for 1920 is approximately $49,202 for this lease. The budget is on page 13-14, and we also included some of the estimates that Tom received for this work. Of course, due to the amount, we'll issue an RFP and see what the numbers come in at. But we use this number as a placeholder.
Yeah. Which means it could be a little bit cheaper. It could be, it could not, it might not be done this year.
No, we need to get it done, and, you know,
As soon as possible.
we're hoping that we can get some more people on board to get the numbers better.
So the price tag we're looking at right now is $227,000?
Right, and that's gonna be a piggyback off a contract that's current right now at one of the colleges.
Tom, why is that needed? Isn't usually the ductwork and all is replaced when we put in new air conditioning systems and stuff? Why are we doing
No,
this and not?
this is the ductwork that's internal throughout the entire first and second floor, throughout the entire building.
This is the mold problem we have.
Mold.
It needs to be done because
Both.
there's, well, this is, with mold, what causes mold growth is high humidity. So if we replace these ductworks and the humidity's high enough right now to cause mold growth, we'll get mold growth with the
Well,
new
a
equipment.
lot of the issues that we have were systemic from the roof issues that we had a few years ago, which we've already taken care of, and we had significant plumbing problems in the bathrooms, which we've already addressed. We've already addressed all of the, or a lot of the underlying problems that we've had, and the current system that we have now, there's just no way to clean it. It basically has to be completely removed. And then as the new systems get in place, there's some duct work and some fans and things that they're going to be putting in place to release the humidity that's
So you don't have the
interior.
condensation.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. It's part of the process.
Right now, you're creating, even though what she says is true, you're actually creating condensation the way it is now, which entails creates the mold. Because I understand this, my brother's house had the same problem. He had to put in all new duct work.
I did too.
Because of the fact that it was insufficient of keeping dry, so it was actually creating condensation or water vapor within the attic, which created the water, which created the mold.
Right.
I understand what's going
And
on
everything in this building is original, and they had, in my term here, not as Public Works Director, but as an employee here, they've been working on this for quite a long time,
Yeah.
and I know that they've spent money on a few occasions in the past trying to get those ducts cleaned, and it's only been temporary.
Can we get some direct reading monitors
We-
to make sure that the humidity is kept around, below 65 ideally, or at least, or 60
We're,
the best?
we're working
because
on
if
that
not-
internally. Our maintenance staff, Angel, has bought some of those readers already that he's been using.
Thank you.
And
Fleet main, go ahead.
the price that's on the budget proposed for that, has that been put out there for pricing?
Not yet.
But, and that has to be a specific company that does like commercial kind of buildings, right?
Right, it's gonna be sort of along the lines of how they would do an asbestos abatement. It's gonna be the same way. They'll come in and they'll seal off, and they'll do one section at a time.
Right.
They'll work overnight, and that's part of the cost, because everything's gonna be done to where it doesn't disturb any of the staff. And then the way that they propose it to us is there's gonna be really no real impact as far as discomfort or anything like that. They're gonna be able to turn these rooms around fairly quickly. They'll have a day shift and a night shift, where the night shift will come in and take out all of the materials, and then the day shift will come in and put everything back. So at best, you'll have certain sections or rooms out maybe one day with no air conditioning.
Okay. Fleet maintenance.
Maintenance on page 13-20. Proposed budget is about $10,000. 1% higher than fiscal 19. basically covers the repairs to the public works truck, because everything else is covered, all the other departments are covered under the other contractual services. So this is, we're showing an increase this year under other contractual services, and that's for expected more repairs on your fleet as the fleet gets older.
Correct, some of the older
Are we still involved in that contract with the outfit that takes care of all?
Yes, first vehicle.
We are.
Yeah. We've had phenomenal success with those guys. I mean, those guys have just, I can't even begin to even tell you guys how much money these guys have saved us on repairs and things that we've sent out to dealers. We had one truck, we were quoted almost $30,000 to replace the engine on that truck. They came in for less than $3,000 on a weekend and put that truck back on the road. You know, and that's, you know.
So the 23% proposed increase is what then?
It's going to be for some of the older fleets that we have. I have a truck right now that was a bucket truck that we used when we used to do the trimming. The lift system on that truck.
Okay, you're talking about actuators and stuff like this?
Right. Altech said that it was too old. They could no longer service the unit,
Okay.
but the truck was relatively new, the chassis. So I started asking questions, talking to some of our vendors, and we were actually able to convert that truck to a trash truck to add to our fleet for less than $10,000. And
So
then,
that's what some of this increase is about then?
right, and then the unit, the boom unit, even though it wasn't serviceable for us to use, we were able to auction that unit for a little over $6,000. So we've actually saved money on conversion with the auction. So
Thanks, Tom.
we're making it happen. I saved you guys $89,000 on a new truck for less than 10.
Just a question. What do you want? What do you want? You want a raise? Stand up there. Stand on the table. I'll give you a raise.
Stand on the table.
I know you work miracles for us, behind the scenes, all the time.
Fleet maintenance, now we go road and
Road and Transportation, section 15, on page 15-1. You'll see the proposed budget is about 76,000 or 9.4% lower than 18-19. Budget includes $40,421 for 2 Groundmaster riding lawnmowers and $58,200 for milling and paving the 500 block of South Drive. Budget also includes funding for street and road repairs citywide. Again, this has no impact on the general fund since it all comes from CITT funds.
So we're saving 10% how? 9.4, sorry?
9.4% lower. from
Right,
next year.
how? How? Why, how are we saving?
It all, probably, you did some, we had some budgeted some significant work in the current year that he's not projecting for next year.
Oh, okay. All
So
right.
we just try to use up as much of the CITT funding as we can get.
Sure. No question about that.
any questions on the road and transportation?
Sir.
Sanitation?
Section 19. It's 19-1. The proposed budget is $74,776, or 3% lower than 18-19. Budget for this year includes $142,674 for a new 16 cubic yard rear loader garbage truck. His budget is on page 14-2. And again, this is a self-sustaining fund. There's no impact on the general fund.
That's nice. 3% lower going forward in sanitation. That's incredible. Gotcha.
Got me coughing now.
Waste management services for all the city buildings.
Hmm.
Up with 2 guys that go to approximately 200 of those 55-gallon barrels to pick up all the garbage at the parks and throughout the city. They've got to make multiple trips back and forth to Public Works. So between the wear and tear, the fuel, the two guys, and that operation, and the savings work doing our own sanitation in-house, again, we got a significant savings coming to the city if we can get rid of that contractor.
Okay, sounds good.
Excellent. That's right.
Anything else on sanitation? And then,
Stormwater on section 20, page 20-1, the proposed budget is 37,245, or 7.4% lower than fiscal year 18-19. Again, this is a self-sustaining fund, no effect on the general fund. And the reason you'll see the decrease is because in the current year, you had a big project that you did for stormwater, which was
The Beltran Alley.
Beltran
And
Alley.
he did tell me he was coming to give us praise.
he said he stopped me. I thought he was pointing at me like this. And I thought, what the heck's going on? So I drove right by him. I didn't want to stop.
We mostly do too.
And then I stopped and he said, well, I said, you know, a lot of times we don't get people come up to the council and thank you for what we do. Usually we just get people that don't thank you for what you do. But he was very gratified. He was very positive about you and the city.
I told him it was going to take some time, and he had to be patient and work with us. You know, he wanted something done instantaneously. We finally made it work for them over there.
Very good.
It's doing very well. We've been monitoring it with all these rains and stuff, and they've not had one issue over there.
It's good. It's great. It's that storm. Any questions on stormwater?
Sure.
That's come. You know where it comes from, right? We go to. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Nash.
Yeah, make sure that you take care of yourself.
Yes.
Tom, as always, thank you for everything
Always.
you do. You wear so many hats for our city. It's amazing.
You are a spook.
I'm big with
Spook.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, guys, have a good night.
Hey, you be
Tommy.
good.
Yeah, finance, let's go to,
Save them things for me. I want to try something with them.
finance budget, the administrative division on page 6-2. The proposed budget is 10,815, or 2.5% higher than fiscal year 18-19. Increase is due to the 3% COLA increase, as well as health insurance increases of 6% for fiscal year 19-20. And that budget you can find on page 6-3.
It's pretty neat that we're only going up 6%.
We had quite a few arguments, because originally they came in at 9, over 9, and our healthcare consultant started negotiating with them, and told them that if they didn't come down from that number, we were going to go out to the market and see what was out there. And they came back originally at 7 point something, and we told them, no, if either we get 6 or we go out to market. And they came back after a few days and
6.
went with 6.
Great.
Is that same guy doing our negotiating?
Bob Schaefer.
Bob,
Schaefer.
That's
Bob-
great.
He likes me.
Bob Schaefer, yeah, Bob Schaefer. Kind of, but he might now. I might come and say, well, finally, you know, Bob, you did what you're supposed to do. Hey, remember, they didn't listen to me.
Yeah, no, I remember.
Remember that?
I
He
do.
didn't listen to
I
me.
do.
Well, tell Bob, give him a little note from me, William. That. Kudos,
I will.
Kudos.
I will.
Give him the UM sign.
All right.
Anything on this on the finance? Nothing. All right, we're done here for
No,
tonight.
one more. The finance has professional services,
Oh,
which
professional
is
services.
Tammy's area, on page 6-6. The proposed budget is 11,028, or 5.2% lower than fiscal year 18-19. Budget includes a request of $3,400 for 2 new computers for staff, and that budget is on 6.7. And this is the budget that does all of our newsletters and mail outs. And
That's Anna Hume and that whole deal.
Is it just Anna right now?
Right now,
You have, there's,
and a combination of Anna and William. William likes to do his
but are you looking? There's a position in there. Is there not that we're not realizing yet, or?
Filled the procurement position. Yes, so this budget is now the new position, which includes Giselle.
Okay.
That was an email that got sent out.
Yes, Suzelle falls under this.
So who was doing the procurement before Suzelle? No, I mean, but who was doing it before? You were doing, okay.
Tammy Key.
She went to,
Oh,
doing
Tammy Key was doing, okay. Right.
Senior, I was doing it until Suzelle came in.
Okay, anything else on this? Okay, I want to make, I want to know now, everything that we just talked about right now, tonight's budget, would still fall under the 7.3,
7.35,
right, everything. Everything we talked about tonight
everything,
falls under that,
correct.
okay.
So we haven't done anything then, really.
We haven't
kept
done,
it.
we haven't done
Kept it
anything
right there.
to hire where we want to be.
Right.
Even though we set it at 7.5,
Yes, sir.
I want it clear that we would not go over,
I am
you understand?
totally with you. We haven't gone up a penny.
No. And as a matter of fact, that's why I want it clear that right now, you know, we capped it at 7.5 for security reasons. Now, right now, it don't look like after this section of this time in the budget, we're gonna have to go to that 7.5 or anything above it right now. Okay? I just wanted it clear. The only thing we have is the first part. There are a couple things we have to look into
Clerk.
from the clerk and from the, actually, it's our budget. Correct? All right, anything else?
I didn't see your window in there this year.
I have a
It's
question.
on the, look at the wish list.
Budget.
By the
No,
way,
it's in Chris's office.
we
That
updated your
Yeah.
books. I updated the wish list because there was an addition at the last minute, and you'll see it on there from Parks and Recreation.
That's what I was gonna ask about.
I saw
Yeah,
that.
they put in a request for $4,800 to do the palm trees on Morningside. So that request is there, and I believe you sent out the
Yes, they
information to council
But I think
Right.
that 48 can come out of the 200,000.
of the tree trimming.
Yeah. I think that's, you know, Tom's not gonna miss $4,000, $5,000 in tree trimming.
He's already
I'm-
left. He's left.
No, well, I know, that's why I said it. But I mean, that's my thought right now.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's my thought. There's no reason to add on to anything, and my thought is that we could think, you know, that's thinking right now, popped in my head.
Mayor, I agree with you, not what I've seen tonight.
Well, and I just wanted to mention with that Coral Rock project, that's Eric Ritchie and his friend who do the actual work. They're just asking for the money for the supplies and other than the tree planting, but they're the ones that move those rocks and set them up. It's
Well, I know that.
a labor of love.
I'm just talking about
Yes.
the money.
Yeah, they all doing it. You're right.
They have nothing else to do, though.
They have nothing.
All right.
No.
I talk to Eric once in a while
Oh,
when he's
okay.
not doing anything.
What's wrong?
He's not doing it.
But some people who are retired have nothing to do, could be doing other things rather than moving rocks.
Yeah,
And
well,
he's doing that,
he
so.
did, but that's what he
Well,
loves
maybe-
to do.
Yeah, I know that,
You know,
which is
everybody,
great for us.
everybody has their niche of life, and his niche is moving rocks.
There were no questions for Tom on River Cities, right?
Now,
Oh,
He's,
man,
he's,
no.
he's working his way out.
No,
They're on his way
No.
out.
let him, no,
that's something to be talked about later.
that was kind of rough last year. Leave him alone.
Right now, for right now. I got my thoughts on that too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got my thoughts on it. All right, that's it. We meet again Monday night for a regular council meeting,
Yes.
and it starts at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
Really? 7 o'clock.
See you then, sports fans.
Okay, this meeting's adjourned.
Oh, that's right, they saved this for this
Oh, I know.
Write it down.
Now I have 5 or 6 hard hats.
Here's your budget book.
Tammy, where's the news bulletin?